Okay, welcome back to the With Joe Wehbe Podcast. Two thoughts, right? The first is investing. Uh, Investing in things that stand the test of time, that are pretty defensible, is normally what we want to do. Now, everyone's quite worried about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies right now because it's a new thing. And they're thinking, is this thing always going to be around? Maybe it's jumping around now, but what is there really a long-term future here? Something like gold or property, it's always been around. Property's not going anywhere. Gold's not going anywhere. So we think about these things. Even in terms of a non-financial asset. I was having a conversation yesterday about the practice of Stoicism. And that's a movement, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca. Stoicism has stood the test of time, which means it's probably a really good thing to invest in terms of an outlook towards the world, or a state of consciousness. So investing. The other thing is safety and over-engineering. So most of our vehicles for transport are over-engineered for safety, because you don't just want to meet spec for safety. You want to make sure that if there's a pretty serious crash, you stand the best odds of surviving that car crash or whatever it is. So we always want to over-engineer for safety if we have the opportunity. Maybe not too much in other areas of life, but let's rock with that example for now. Now, that is a little prelude into what we're going to talk about today, which is the apocalypse test. And the apocalypse test is just one of my other mad and crazy and erratic ways of thinking about the world. And it's quite simply, you're imagining that there's an apocalypse where assume that, most people have survived, okay? Or at least you have. You and maybe those you most care about and hold dear. And I want you to think about, with this apocalypse, what still holds value, what's still relevant, but what's not. And what you'll find as you start to think is a lot of stuff is gone. A lot of stuff is off the table. Let's list them. First of all, money. Right? I know money's an important day of everyday life. But finances and the financial system are all wiped out in an apocalypse. Most of your income right now are numbers on a screen. And so if screens don't work anymore, if there's no more power, where's your money gone? But even if we're talking about you're holding gold coins and you're holding cash, well, in a world that's been flipped on its head where there's not as much to buy, how relevant is that currency system anymore? So in an apocalypse, if you'd spent all your life cultivating money, and this is where we can link back to Bitcoin as well, when people misunderstand that Bitcoin is just like their other money. And this is not financial advice, so please get individual financial advice for yourself, but one's been around longer, the other one is newer. So money is gone in the apocalypse test. Your wealth is worth nothing. If you'd spent only your life cultivating that, it would have been for naught. The stock market no longer exists as well. Companies probably don't even exist anymore. Because where is a company? Where does it exist? Where is Facebook? Not Facebook's office, but where is Facebook itself? But Facebook's an interesting example because social media no longer exists. Because if the digital infrastructure has collapsed, social media is gone. And that means social media followers are gone. So if you spent all your time cultivating social media followers and an audience that you're going to monetize, if that's where all your time and focus went, that's gone too. You can keep talking about it. Property. Say you live I'm in Sydney, and say I have an investment property in New York, right? I don't live there. Obviously I'm in Sydney, but I've got the New York property. I own it. No one can invade it. No one can squat on it and take over my property. It's mine. In an apocalypse, how are you going to protect your rights to your property on the other side of the world, the other side of the country? How are you going to protect your own home? If someone comes in with a gun and says, get out of here, this is mine now, are you going to hold up a piece of paper that shows your ownership of your property? And if we're talking about piece of paper, you can also hold up your degree. your qualifications. Right? I've got this piece of paper that authorizes me to do X. I've got a driver's license. I've got a law degree. I've got a medical degree. And that's going to hold a lot less weight. The piece of paper. But yeah, your rights to your land. So what I talk about is that Bitcoin is a really interesting thing to tease this out. And if you're looking at this episode, you might want to think about the extent to which you understand cryptocurrencies as a concept, because it's a deep rabbit hole and I don't really understand much of it myself. But what I do understand is that so much of our seemingly natural world and our culture and way of living now is heavily based on stories. And by stories, I don't mean once upon a time. I mean at what we call an imagined order, where the boundaries and the rules are not actually based on anything that could be called substance. For example, I've written about how there's no such thing as intrinsic value. That no thing holds any magic intrinsic value. If I hold up this tablet, right, or you look at my microphone and you think, no, well, those are hard goods. They've got an intrinsic value. If for some reason, recording became irrelevant in an apocalypse, for example, there's no value to this piece of junk. It's drastically changed. So you might think that this piece of equipment or a piece of property could never go below a particular price. But in a certain situation, like the most extreme, obviously, even though it's not relatable, is the apocalypse, it could. There's no magical value. So it's like a coin. A coin at some point, when it's not a currency anymore, is worth whatever it is as a piece of metal or whatever other material it is, or whatever gold and whatever other combination of materials it is. So intrinsic value, in my mind, doesn't exist at all. For most things, certainly. So I love this idea of the apocalypse to remind me where value actually lies. And this is why it might be useful for you too. Now, what is retained? What survives the apocalypse, right? Because your sense of safety is even volatile now. Your possessions they can all be taken from you the same way conquerors over history have come in and taken a piece of land. You wanted it, you just came, you had to just be stronger, you got it. So what retains its value? Well, your health is still important. Significance of health does not, if anything, becomes more valuable in a post-apocalyptic world. It's because medical attention probably be harder to come by, and medical support and machinery and MRIs and stuff aren't working. So your health becomes even more valuable. Your relationships hold their value. Also, any of your, what can we call them? Your mental resources, your state of inner peace, your ability to deal with change, with challenges. That inner resourcefulness, what I've called in past podcast episodes, the inner world you live in. That still retains its value. There are probably others, but yeah, I've that one is self-awareness. Oh, if you're talking about the previous episode, not the previous episode, but the one before, sorry, the monk who burned himself to death. So being able to just control your inner world, that still retains huge value. Now, why is this relevant? Apocalypses are pretty rare. Not too rare, ask the dinosaurs. And we're not planning for this likely scenario, so I can still just focus on, my financial independence, my whatever, my image, my degree, this, that, the other, my social media following, all the things that might be dispensed with in an apocalypse. Yes, you can, and you probably should, because you're playing a game. But don't confuse living your life with playing a game that is probably a big part of life. Don't draw the circles the wrong way around. Your life is this overarching thing, and in it are all these games we kind of play, and they're best thought of as games, because a game, like all these other things I've talked about, is an imagined order. It's all wrapped in things that don't actually tangibly, materially exist. You know, game of soccer, what's to stop everyone just walking off the field at a random point in time, ignoring what the ref says? There's no physical enforcement of the rules, and it's opt-in. You know, in theory, you could walk away without any material physical consequence, unless, you know, your dad beat you over the head for walking away from your soccer game. So to come back to my point, why is this important? All right, just to tether this down to something that's realistic and practical for you in your day to day, when the last thing you need to worry about is your apocalypse, when you've got a mortgage to pay, or you're saving up for a deposit, or you're trying to get ahead, or you're trying to start your business, or whatever it is. It's that it's very easy to lose perspective, and it's also very interesting to come back to my point at the start. When you're investing in things, you know, the safest investments are the ones that stand the test of time, that are largely going to survive in the wake of outside change. Also, over-engineering for safety. So if you have a quality in those areas that retain their value in an apocalypse, health, relationships, self-awareness, and your inner resources, you're kind of diversified against anything that can happen because you've catered for the worst case scenario. So the next COVID doesn't completely shake the foundations of your sense of meaning and life. You're diversified against things happening to you in the outside world. Again, building on that episode, the monk who burned himself to death. So you can play the other games as long as whatever. And for me, in my life, it's making podcasts, it's writing books, it's, launching businesses, and, all this sort of stuff that's purposeful, but often fun. And and there are achievements to be done there. All right. And there's work to be done. And so it's no trivial feat, but it's in the context of what life really is and what the things that will never change are. And when we're investing, it's like cryptocurrencies, well, you're never going to put all your money in there if it's that volatile and you don't fully understand it. You might put 1 or 2% of your wealth in, but you always want to keep a bit of it in what does feel safe. Or a lot of people are doing that with cryptocurrencies because of decentralized finance. But let's not make this more complicated than it needs to be. But it's you make sure that part of your portfolio that's safe. And that's where we come with the apocalypse test. You diversify your life because you invest your energy, your time, and where you put value, where you assign value, you invest that for your life. No one can do that for you, and there's no fund managers for that. So always remember the apocalypse test, guys. And I think what I brainstormed before is a way to kind of make more of this exercise, if you want, is to write out, I guess, your balance sheet of your life, like all the things that I love doing this on a Sunday sometimes, like all the things that are relevant. Like I write down from sleep to, the work and the projects, podcasts, etc., and the mission, personal relationships, romantic relationships, whatever the health, whatever the areas are. And you just think about, wow, how well am I investing in these areas? Just kind of like you would a portfolio. Even though most people might not do that anyway, but heck, it's a good exercise, the balance sheet of your life. So thank you very much for tuning in again to the podcast. We're nearing the end of this series on the worthwhile pursuits in life, and even the whole, I guess what I'm going to call it, the season 1 with Joe Wehbe. So bear with me. There's some powerful episodes to come. In the meantime, just remember that the best way to open 1,000 doors for you is to concentrate on opening doors for others.